Hey guys, have you ever wondered what it truly means to lead in the world of childcare? And how does passion and purpose guide you through each challenging yet rewarding day? Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Saccoccio, and we are so happy that you are here today. We have a great episode for you. We're going to dive into the essence of childcare leadership with Serena Mann, the owner of Heavenly Hearts Learning Academy. She is a trailblazer in her field, and I love that she still works in her center. We explore what inspires her leadership and commitment to advocating for the childcare industry and her vision of what makes a great leader. So, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much, Erica, for the opportunity.
Yes, yes, yes. So, we met at the Born to Teach conference.
We did. And that was just
We did. We
amazing.
did.
Shout out to everybody who, put that together. It just
Yes.
goes to show that here we are a couple of months later and we've made a meaningful
Hmm.
connection. And that's just one of the things I really love about networking and just going to different events with other like-minded people.
Yes, I could not agree more. I made so many friends there. I love Texas. I'm like, I can't wait to go back. Latrice did an
Yeah.
amazing job. Her whole team did an amazing job. And but I thought, yes, it was well put together. But I also think the people that attended the event were also, like you said, like-minded and equally amazing. So when you find the right people, great things can happen. So let's talk a
Absolutely.
little bit yeah, let's talk a little bit. But before we do that, tell folks a little bit about your, how you came to the world of childcare. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am a teacher by trade. When I was a little girl, I used to, pack bags with snacks and plan out activities, and while the other children were thinking about playing, I was preparing, to have things in place for them. So I definitely always knew that I love working with children. And so I tell people I'm very fortunate because I've known what I've been called to do for a very long time. And so I used to always say when I grow up, I'm going to have a daycare center that I want to have a daycare center. I want to be able to take care of kids. And my dream came true when I was, I want to say in my early 20s. I started my daycare. I had my daughter. And it really started because I didn't want to leave her with anybody. I didn't want to spend a lot of money paying for daycare and not being sure that my child was going to start off on a firm foundation. Education extremely important to me. So, I started while I
Hmm.
was waiting tables. I was waiting tables, and then I was going to school at night, and I was running my daycare during the day, and I just fell in love with it. And after like maybe the first 9 months or so, I was able to leave my job waiting tables and just run my daycare. And I just been in love with it ever since. And so, in taking care of children, Erica, one of the things that I really have learned is that it's not just children that need care, but it's families as a whole that need care. And so I have a few other businesses that have been like spin-offs from my daycare, one of which is a financial consulting company. And so with that, I help people with their credit. It's called United Credit Doctors of America. We also help with business entity structuring. We help with debt elimination plans. We help with just strategic plans for businesses, helping people understand, how to really leverage the resources that they have available. Another business, which is a nonprofit, we also created as well, individuals making positive active change together. And the whole goal was to provide wraparound services for the families that we serve. Yeah, I'm a mother of one. My
It
daughter just
did.
turned
It's
18 in
okay.
July. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. I love community, I love education, and I just love, helping people.
Yeah. So, gosh, so similar. It's amazing how many of us come. Well, you already knew you wanted to help children and work with children. I didn't know that, but all the rest of your story sounds very, very similar to mine. So, um, I love that you want to help your community. I also believe in servant leadership and helping those around me. It's one of my four core values for sure. So, what even what even made you decide that you were going to do this expansion and help folks in the way that you're helping them? Because that's far beyond what traditional childcare centers are doing.
Honestly, I just feel like it was how I grew up. You know, my family's always been just very generous, very not necessarily with money because we don't have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money, but it's generous with kindness, generous with
Mm.
help, you know, generous with your time and just generous with consideration for others. And so being in my home, you know, a home daycare is different from a commercial center. I've been
Mm-hmm.
blessed to open up my first commercial center this past year, but it's just a big difference between working in your home. You have more intimate relationships with the
Mm.
families. And so a lot of my kids, I would get them when they were babies and literally keep them until they aged out of daycare. So you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about 7, 8, 9 years that I would
Mm-hmm.
take care of these children. And so it just allowed me to really get to know people intimately, and people trust me. They share stuff with me, and I'm a problem solver. So it was like, oh, well, this is what you need help with. Okay, let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. And so just being in that atmosphere to see that there's so many people that are not able to really connect with the resources. It's not that the resources aren't necessarily there, but sometimes they need a little bit of help of bridging that gap. And by
Mm.
me being a problem solver and just a servant, you know, I just love, you know, making those connections for them. So I would have to say that that's really what, you know, got me into it. And then outside of my family and how I grew up, just my belief system, you know, I'm a firm believer in reciprocity, and what you give out is what you're going to get back. So is whatever, you know, that you want to see manifested in your own life, that's what you have to put out into the universe, to the atmosphere. And so I believe that I want help. You know, I'm not a prideful person. I know that I can't
Mm.
accomplish things by myself. No matter how great or wonderful God might have made me to be, I'm only one person. And so if I know that I want good help, I have to be good help. And
Mm.
so that's what I really just strive to be to people and in the community.
Wow. Yeah. That's just wonderful. Wonderful advice and just reaches my soul really. So when we're talking about leadership, how do you define leadership? Like what does leadership mean to you within the context of, early childhood development?
Well, I think for leadership for me, first you have to be a good follower. You have to be able to take direction. You have to be able to observe, you know, people that have been doing whatever it is longer than you, and be humble and be open to their critiques and their input, because you know that's how you're truly going to be able to build your leadership ability. I feel that also as a leader you have to be bold. You have to definitely be connected to something stronger than you, greater than you, bigger than you, whatever you want to call it. You know, the universe, God, Muhammad, whatever. You know, you just have to have something that you're deeply connected to, like you said, like in your soul and your spirit, that's really driving you, because that's what's going to really, in my opinion, help you be the best leader. You know, leadership definitely, leaders have like similar characteristics. Like most leaders have routines that they follow, they have systems that they have developed in their life to, you know, make things flow a certain way. They definitely network, they
Mhm.
leverage relationships, they leverage markets, all different these things. But what stands out about anybody? You know, I feel like a good leader has to be someone that's willing to stand out for what it is they're standing up for.
Mm. Yes, yes. Um, so what maybe somebody's like inspired to do something but they're not sure what they want to do. Maybe could you share some like actionable tips on how aspiring leaders, maybe those coming up the ranks, can embody some of those leadership qualities in their own roles? Maybe they're not a child care director yet. Maybe they're a lead teacher in a classroom and they're ready to lead, ready to make that next leap. What would be some actionable steps or advice you would give them?
The first actionable step that I would say is educate yourself. You know, you don't have to know it all, but you have to know enough so that you can become an authority in whatever it is you're trying to lead in. There's so much information that's accessible these days to anything you want to know about. Right in your hand most of the day, your phone. So I would say educate yourself, get yourself into some classes, workshops, network with other people, find a mentor, but really get education about what it is you're trying to lead in. The next actionable step I would say is make sure that you're like examining yourself, like make sure you're leading for the right reason, if that makes sense. A lot of times people want roles and titles as leaders,
Mm,
but they really don't want to do the work. As a
mhm,
leader, leadership isn't fair. It's not. You have to be willing to put in extra work, extra emotional, ups and downs, extra everything if you're leading, because a lot of people are going to be leaning on you. So really do
mm,
like a self check to make sure that you're really up for the job, because nobody wants a whiny, a complaining leader. Who wants to follow that?
yeah,
And a lot of
yeah,
times it's hard because when you are in leadership positions, it's so challenging to find other leaders that you can lean on and be able to just get an understanding, and be able to decompress, because a lot of times when you're have people following you, they don't understand what it means to lead. They may look at it and say, "Oh, wow, look at all these people following her or following him. That has to be
mhm,
so great. They're an influencer. They can do this, they can do that." But they're not looking at it from the other side as well. What does that person do behind the scene? How many
mm,
countless hours is that person spending to build that platform? How much
mhm,
time is that person taking away from their family and sacrificing, and fun and different things to make that be what it is? So
mm,
it's like it's not all glitz and glamour. I'm a person that I'll tell anybody, I have worked very hard to get to where I am. And nobody can take that away from me. Even now, I'm still working at my center. I'm the director. But guess what? We're a small center, so when people call out,
mhm,
I have to be in the classroom. I have to drive.
mhm,
I have to do whatever I have to do so that things can keep running. So, what if I don't feel good? Guess what? I still got to come in there and smile, be pleasant and keep the show running. Because if I'm in there whining and complaining, well, how do you think that energy is going to affect everyone else that's around me that I'm supposed to be leading? So, you check yourself, make sure you're leading for the right reason. And the last tip that I would say, if you're trying to take some actionable items outside of, educating yourself, self-checking, making sure that you're leading for the right reason, the last thing that I would say is make sure that you're not giving too much to the wrong people.
mm,
Meaning, don't cast your pearls to swine. Sometimes, as a leader, you have really good intentions. You want to see people win, and you'll give and give and give
mhm,
and give and give. However, like I said earlier, I operate in reciprocity. I can't just keep giving and giving and giving and giving and not receiving anything in return to fill me back up, because then as a leader, I'm going to be depleted. And if I'm a depleted leader, then I'm going to be in jeopardy of not being able to lead as effectively. I'm going to be dealing with anxiety. I'm going to be dealing with depression. I'm going to be dealing with all these other things that affect my spirit and my mental energy if I'm not being mindful of where I'm exhausting my resources and my time and my energy when I am leading. So just be mindful of that. That would be my 3 tips.
I think we should just sit there at number 3 and let that resonate with some of y'all. For me, reciprocal relationships are so important, and it took me a long time to get there. And for those of us who really love people, sometimes it takes a long time to get there. Like you said, you want to give and give, but there's a point where you have to say, "I've given enough," and it's not in return. It's not reciprocal. So, um, yeah, I think that was something that I struggled with for a little bit. Um, what inspires you most in your leadership journey, and how can listeners tap into their own sources of inspiration to stay motivated in their leadership roles?
I think the thing that inspires me the most is the diversity in my role. Like I said, I love education, but I'm an out of the box educator. You know, I love field trips. I love
Mm,
hands on messy stuff. I love activities, you know, so it's like
mm-hmm.
that's what inspires me because it's like it's never a dull moment. It's never a dull moment. I literally I get to choose every day to have fun. You know, and
Yeah, right?
my kids are amazing. You know, it could be a day that I'm feeling any type of way, and I tell all
Mm,
my staff at Heavenly Hearts Learning Academy, you're a superstar. You're a celebrity. The kids
mm,
just saw you yesterday, and guess what? When you come in again,
mm.
everybody's running over to you.
Yes.
Everybody's giving you a hug. It
It-
never failed. Every day you walk in there, you're a superstar. So it's like whatever you're going through, how can you come into an atmosphere with that type of energy and just not be inspired and just not be happy and just if you
mm,
walk into that kind of energy and you're not happy and inspired, you need to really check yourself before you wreck yourself because something's going on with you emotionally. You might need
mm,
to call better help or somebody. But, that's what keeps me moving and just seeing my kids bloom like beautiful flowers.
mm,
The skill sets that I have learned. So with our nonprofit, we had a campaign a couple of years ago where we had purchased the building that was a hot mess. I have some of the pictures on my Instagram if you guys want to check it out. It's Miss Heavenly Hearts. But anyway, we purchased this building, and during the process, Erica, I had to realize that a lot of people would try to take advantage of you because the building needed to be fully renovated. I was
mm,
blessed to meet a guy who worked in the city that told me step by step everything I needed to do to be able to do all the renovations. So I was my own general contractor because I was able to use my skill sets from managing my daycare. For everybody that's out there that's a daycare provider, please do not sell yourself short. Whether you work in your home with a few kids, you're a nanny, you work with one child, or you work with a big school of children, you're valuable. Every day you are a project manager, whether you knew it or not. Some people have to go to school and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a degree to be called a project manager. You're doing it every single day. Every day when you're building those lesson plans, guess what? You're managing that project. Every day that you're coordinating schedules, you're coming up with field trips, you're doing these different things, and you're managing all these different aspects. I didn't realize it until I got into context. I said, well, this stuff correlates. Really, if I can manage a daycare, why can't I go and find, I can hire staff, why can't I hire contractors? I can do references on staff, I can do references on contractors. I can do a timeline. So it's just realizing that with what I've been blessed to do over these past 15, 16 years, I've really developed so many skill sets that have allowed me to be successful. After I was able to do the general contracting for my daycare, it propelled me into real estate investing. And I learned, I took those same skill sets that I did with my building and started doing fix and flips with my partner and, buying homes. And now I have a rental portfolio. And, I'm looking at getting into other things that I can still use my skill sets in while I'm still loving my kids, loving my daycare, and, everything that's going on. So the endless opportunities is just what keeps me inspired. The opportunity of knowing, like at the conference, Ron Clark had talked about the young lady that he had the opportunity to take her to Africa, and then how that touched her so much that she was able to then take that and organize a trip to Africa herself for her classmates. And then from there, he had continuously tried to get this relationship with Nike, and boom, who ends up becoming the head of philanthropy for Nike? This same girl that when she was a little child, he knew her and he poured into her. He had no idea what that seed was going to turn into, but it's just the unlimited possibilities about, what we do that just keeps me engaged and just on fire and in love with it.
Serena, can I tell you something? Do
Sure.
you know I have interviewed so many people and they've all been amazing? Do you know this is the first time I've interviewed a guest? I actually have goosebumps right now because literally everything you're saying right now, I feel it. I feel it so much. um you're just you're amazing. You're amazing. The reason everybody runs to you, you're a rock star, because you're doing it right. You've got it right. I know you already know that. You don't need my validation. I'm just saying, literally, I have goosebumps up and down my arms. So thank you for sharing the knowledge that you are sharing right now. And I hope that folks are really, truly listening and tuned in, because the things that you're saying are so impactful. And I hope that people are really, if you missed some of it, go back, listen to it again, get your notebook, because the things that you're saying, these are real things. My sister did all the contract work on our centers. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't grow up with a lot of money. We had $20,000 a business plan and a dream. We made it happen, right? And so that's the thing, see the opportunities and take them. You never know where they'll take you. So yeah, you're just super
Hmm.
inspiring, so inspiring. So let's talk about advocacy for children, because as I looked on your Instagram, I saw there was a lot about advocacy. So let's talk a little bit about that, because right now our industry is a little bit in turmoil. I guess I'll say it that way, right? We'll be positive about it, but there's a lot of things going on, and some folks are really struggling. So, how do we advocate for the childcare industry? Maybe what practical steps can listeners take, or something that you can share in terms of advocacy so that they can make sure that, they don't lose all their kids to state funded pre-Ks or whatever's going on in their area, because everybody's got different challenges. But
Absolutely. So I would say, as far as advocacy is concerned, the first step to all of my brothers and sisters out there, my fellow ECE professionals, I love you guys. I can say that in my time that I've been in this industry, we just rock. I've never been to any type of event for early childhood professionals that you didn't meet just some wonderful people, and that's
mm,
refreshing because we work with children. So it would be crazy to go there and you got a bunch of mean people. But everybody's so fun and
mm,
just nurturing and sweet. And I would just say, take a step back. Take a step back, because it's easy to get so overwhelmed with everything going on. And when you're overwhelmed, you can't see clearly,
mm,
you can't hear clearly, and so you're not in the best position to strategize. So take a deep breath and step back, whatever that looks like for you. It might mean you might have to get off social media for a while and just get your journal out,
mm,
and reconnect with the same source, the same higher element. I call him God, that already gave you everything you need. Every answer to every question has already been provided. But sometimes we get so overwhelmed with what's going on, we dismiss that part. Once you do that, I promise you, you will start to feel better. You'll start to see answers that weren't there before. You'll start to connect with people that you didn't even know that would just come across your path. And it's not coincidental. It's all a
mm,
frequency. So in advocacy, we have to keep ourselves together. So that's the first thing I would have to say. Let's get it together, brothers and sisters. Let's get it together. Let's take that deep breath. Let's reset. You know, Whatever that looks like to you. It might be changing your diet. It might be doing more exercise. It might be, having a special day that you're going to designate just for self-care. I don't know what it looks like for you, but figure that part
mm,
out. Reconnect with yourself, because yourself is really the driving force for pushing our mission and our incentive forward.
mm,
So if you're not okay, if you're burnt out, if you're overwhelmed, if you're conformed to the world and everything the world is saying about what's going on, and you're not being renewed and transformed, by keeping your mind on God, then it's already, not going to work. It's not going to work. We have to reset. We have to
mm,
clear our minds. We have to open our ears so that we can hear from the divine. And from the divine, everything we need is there. Every answer. I tell a lot of people, when I first started my center last year, I didn't close my home daycare. And a lot of people are like, well, why?
mm.
Because the divine showed me not to do that. Keep 2 locations, not
Yeah,
1. Why?
yeah.
Because anything could happen, and it's much easier to
Mm-hmm,
go back to my home and go
mm-hmm.
back to my little simple life and keep things moving along without having to
Yeah,
worry about, opposed to if I just shut it down and I'm in the center, well, I'm in it deep now. I
Yeah.
got rent to pay, mortgage to pay, staff to pay, taxes, this,
Hmm.
that, all this
Oh, I
extra
know.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So, if I wasn't in tune with the divine and with myself, I wouldn't have been able to hear that whisper. It's a soft, still voice. That's why you can't have too much background noise because you're gonna miss it.
Mm.
You got to be able to hear it, and I'm so thankful because then I was able to strategize. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I do differently than a lot of other daycares is I work with other daycares. I provide
Mm-hmm.
transportation services. So at that particular time, I was picking up a family of 3 from the daycare they went to along my route, mind you, and dropping them off at another daycare. So there's 3 daycares involved. It's myself, I'm transporting.
Mm-hmm.
It's the daycare that they're going to, and then it's the after hour daycare that they need to be transported to because mom doesn't get off work until after 6. So
Phew. Oh.
and strategizing and working it that way, I learned that a person can have more than one provider when they are doing subsidy, at least here in Virginia. For instance, if you have a parent that needs care on the weekend, but you don't do child care on the weekend, that parent can go and find a weekend provider. And the subsidy, will still cover that provider. They can have 2 separate providers. Anyway, long story short, we're talking about strategy. And me being willing to step out, do something different that most daycares don't do, and just listening and being open, it revealed to me my house daycare is a separate entity. You understand what I'm saying? From my commercial daycare.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, in essence, I was able to strategize for people that wanted care before the time my daycare opened. I could refer them to my home daycare for their secondary provider for early morning care. And I got my license changed so that my early morning daycare opens up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh boy.
So for people that need care before
Yeah.
6 o'clock, you can drop off as early as 4:30. I will feed them a snack, and guess what? Then I'll transport them to their next location, whether it's at my center or another. So for a lot of families, I was able to gain 2 incomes from one family, being their early morning provider at my home daycare, and then being able to be their primary provider, at my commercial center. So that's strategy right there. That's strategy. That's stuff that I would have missed, and it allows me to offer more advocacy and resources. Because now families that typically didn't have people that would step in and work those non-traditional hours, now they have that available to them. So it's a full circle. It's a win for the family. It's a win for myself. And then with the nonprofit, that part of advocacy allows us to help families that might be struggling with different things. We help with utility assistance. We help with rent payments. For back to school, we normally give out vouchers for the families to be able to get the items that they need for their children. We help get clothes, school supplies. We just did an event, the biggest back to school event in the 757. We probably had about 600 people that showed up that day. And it was
Wow.
amazing. It was just such an amazing time. And that's part of our advocacy too, being present in the community, being aware of what's going on. Sometimes you can get so wrapped in on what's going on and what's not going right for you that you forget it's so much bigger than you. My
Mm-hmm.
biggest blessings have come from not focusing on myself, but just focusing on others and focusing on the greater good. And in that advocacy right there, it always brings back, like I said, everything that I'm trying to manifest, I put it out and then it always comes back to me.
Mm. Yeah.
So that would be my tips.
Yeah. Those are all great tips. Um, so let me ask you, how do you balance, because you certainly seem very, very busy. How do you balance your passion and practice? Like how do you, because you have a lot of things going on. How do you balance all these things as a leader and make sure nothing falls off, and also taking care of yourself as you had talked about, and your family?
You
How do you
got,
do all
you,
these things? Yeah.
Erica, you got to have a good team.
Mm,
You have to have a good team. You have to be able to know how to delegate. You have to be able to manage.
mm,
Everybody's capacity to manage is different. For myself, I'm a really good manager. I'm really tedious when it comes to like orders and making things just flow. And then, just making sure that the people that I have in place know the assignment and having
Mm,
systems that can allow, them to have checks and balances and keep everything moving along. And then from there, you're able to generate more revenue. So with more revenue, you're able to take better care of yourself, I would hope.
yeah.
This is my 39th year. I'm about to walk into my decade of 40 in January, Aquarius season. I'm so excited. And I've been on vacation like literally almost every weekend all year. Like I've been somewhere everywhere, and it's just been amazing. It's been
Mm,
wonderful, and that's been allowing me to unplug, reset. Like I just came back from Master Nutting last week. That's a place here in Virginia. That's like it's like a ski resort.
mm-hmm.
They have a lot of beautiful mountains and things like that. But just going places like that with beautiful scenery where I can just unplug and
Mm,
just decompress, journal, get my thoughts out, and
yeah.
just go with good company to have a good time. That's part of my self-care. I love a good massage. Making sure I implement the things that I enjoy to
Yes.
keep myself balanced. Because I've learned that charity starts at home, right?
Mm,
And what that means for me, Erica, is I got to take care of me first. Because if I don't take care of me,
mm-hmm.
my family's not going to be taken care of. My household's not going to be straight if I'm not good. That's the
Yeah.
type of energy that we have, over our family. And then if our families aren't good, our communities then are not going to be good
Mm,
because our families are not going to be able to go out as a unit and make a greater difference and a greater impact in the community.
yeah.
So that's why it's very important to, put yourself first. And it's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to be selfish and it's okay to be selfless. You just got to
Yeah.
find the balance between the two.
Yeah. That's you have had so many golden nuggets in this episode, I can't even count them all. So one last thing before we wrap up. Is there anything you want to share that I haven't asked you yet?
Well, what I would like to share is I'm super excited because our nonprofit did a collaborative proposal in our area for the police chief, and
Mm-hmm.
we were actually selected to get an award. And so with that, we're going to be doing what is called a safe and sound movement. And so I want you guys to look out for that safe and sound movement. The goal of it is to be able to help people that are in urban communities that are at risk for more crime and violence
Mm,
know how to come together in a way that you can perform for a purpose, you can show up for a purpose, you can do everything. So what does that mean? If you have a great administrative set, agree to use that in a way to keep the community safe and sound. If you're a great orator, use your words to keep the community safe and sound. If you're a good mother, be the best mom that you're going to make your kids understand what it means to be in a safe and sound community. And we just have a campaign of different things that we're going to be doing. So I'll be sharing more of that on my Instagram. It's going to be on my nonprofit Instagram, though. It's Impact Mind 7. It's spelled exactly like it, IMPACTMINDS, the number 7. But yeah, follow us. We're going to be doing some exciting things. We have a documentary that we're going to be doing just to help people that have been victims of gun violence, families that have lost loved ones to gun violence. We just want to just help everybody just come together to get the skills, the communication skills, to be able to articulate
mm-hmm.
themselves, to be able to have access to ways to decompress, positive outlets for self-expression so that they can, channel all that energy in the right way. So I just want to share that. And the last thing that I always share with people is, you know, if you want something different, you have to do something different. Moves do
Mm,
not make themselves. You have to take action. And you don't have to have everything all figured out to take action. But you have to make a move because talk is cheap and life is expensive. So what are you going to do? Peace.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so very much for being a guest on our show. Again, the amount of wisdom that you have dropped in this episode is is priceless. So I hope that it helps somebody out there today. And as always, it's the small details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business. That's it for today. Have a good day.